here in my phone. Gotta make sure we're live. Wait, are we live? Ah, Emily, it is official. We are live.
Live, yay.
I'm gonna put this here. And we're a minute early, but that's good because we want to show everyone how excited we are. And let me just warm up the room. If you are with us live, can you hear us? Can you confirm you can see both Emily and I? Just go in comments right now. Please let us know you can hear us. I'm going to pause myself here.
I'm just checking on my phone and it looks good on my end here.
Erica is here. Hi, Erica, you beautiful being. Oh, all right. So I want to introduce you all to Emily. I'm so excited to have this really powerful and expansive discussion, and I want to prepare you all for how important this work is that Emily is doing, and she has blessed us with her presence, her wisdom, and her love today. So if you all want to just help me welcome Emily to this space, just in comments, say hi, let us know where you're tuning in from, and what you are most excited and or grateful for today. Maybe it's being here and having a moment of pause. Just share with us something you're grateful and or excited for.
I love that.
Yeah, so Emily, I'm going to pass the mic to you, girl. You can share what you're grateful for, what you're excited for, but I'd really love you to introduce yourself and just a little bit of your background and what brings us together today. So here's the mic, babe.
Sure. Thank you so much, Tiffany. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. It is so good to be with you today. My name is Emily. I am a Mohawk from Tyendinaga Mohawk territory, where I'm actually joining you from today. I'm at my folks' place on the reserve, so it's a First Nations reservation in Southern Ontario in Canada. But I live actually in the so-called Toronto area. So I'm headed back to the city later today, but yeah, I'm feeling really, really honored to be here. I'm grateful for this space today. I'm grateful for you, Tiffany. I went to my first moon ceremony on the reserve last night. So my first women's circle, full moon gathering, like real, legitimate, traditional moon gathering, which was so cool. Felt so connected to my ancestors and grandmother moon, and got to lift up some people in prayer and put tobacco down in the fire. So it was really, really beautiful. It's cold here. It's it was windy and cold, but we were around a fire and we were under a teepee. So that was just such a beautiful experience that I'm going to carry with me and hopefully attend many more to come. So I'm feeling extra grateful for that today. In terms of a little bit more about me and what I do, I always say that I work at the intersection of decolonization and personal development. And so what that means is I help coaches and anyone working in the self-help or wellness space to bring a decolonized lens and an anti-racist lens and an anti-oppression lens to the work that they're doing, so that they can create as inclusive of a space as possible and serve more people is really what's at the heart of it. Serve more people, help more people feel seen and truly supported, so that we can minimize harm that happens in this space and maximize transformation for our clients. And this comes from me being an Indigenous person and navigating the world of personal development, absolutely falling in love with it since I was a kid. Grew up obsessively watching Oprah, reading books like The Secret, and learning all about the law of attraction and all of this, which I realized later, actually a lot of that stems from our Indigenous teachings. So I was learning it all along anyways. The importance of, we call it the good mind, having a good mind, and being grateful and starting our day with gratitude and all of that good stuff. It's right there in my culture, but it wasn't right there in the, that Indigenous representation wasn't there in the coaching space or in the personal development world. And it actually took me until last year or the year before to find an Indigenous mentor, like someone who's who represents me and who understands me on those deeper levels of like the ancestral trauma and the racial trauma and things that there are to work through when it comes to personal growth. So I basically started doing this work because of my own experiences, reclaiming my indigeneity and being proud of my heritage, and then finding that the spaces I was in were not actually equipped to hold me in that full identity and to hold me in this like identity crisis that I was moving through as I was reclaiming what was lost and reconnecting with my culture, and also dealing with being mixed ancestry. So I have Mohawk ancestry on my dad's side and then European settler ancestry on my mom's side. And so always kind of felt like I'm not enough for either world. And then, yeah, the spaces I was were in just didn't know how to have those conversations around oppression or colonialism or identity when it comes to racial things. So that's when I realized this work needs to be brought to these spaces, and we need to be working through this decolonized lens. So that's a little bit about me, what I do, and kind of how I got here.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Emily. And I just want to let you know we have the chat lining up like the 4th of July, a Christmas tree right
Oh,
now. Who's just joining, a Janice. I dated a Native American man a while ago. Such beautiful culture. Oh, Janice, that's a good share. Tiffany's here. Hey, yeah, Erica, as a fellow Native American, thank you for bringing your culture into your work. Such beauty in Native
thank you,
culture.
Erica.
Oh, thank you all
Fun.
for that. So beautiful. And if you don't mind, Emily, and guys, everybody, please comment. I will keep my eyes peeled on the comments, but I'm going to be keeping my energy here with Emily. But Emily, can you just share a little bit more about, you were in coaching spaces that were not respecting or having this kind of conversation? Can you just tell us how how the conversation is happening now? Like, how are you bringing coaches into this conversation? Like, yeah, and I want to thank everybody for being here for this conversation. This is very powerful. So yeah, Emily, can you just
Yeah.
expand a bit more how you're having this conversation with coaches?
Yeah, that's a big question, but I will try. So how it started was so I was in a business mastermind, like a big investment, a 5-figure investment, a high level business mastermind. I kind of put that in quotes now because once I needed support around this really big stuff, it really fell flat for me, which was kind of the catalyst for doing this work. So the conversation looked like me grappling with the fact that I have a lot of ancestral healing to do. I have a lot of pain from racism I've experienced that I've suppressed, and that I haven't fully embraced my indigeneity because I never felt enough, never felt indigenous enough, and had been leaning very much into my whiteness, which is probably why I did fit in all the coaching spaces that I was in, because I was so like assimilated and so leaning into my proximity to whiteness. I obviously have light skin and white passing, but something always felt off, like something always felt like it was missing. Like manifestation shouldn't be this hard, but it feels like a hustle. It feels like my colleagues are just doing laps around me, right? Like lapping me. And so I asked spirit through a psychic, an Akashic Records reading. I asked spirit, like, what's up? Why is my growth seeming to be so hard? Like, how do I get to my next level? And spirit told me that it was related to some ancestral stuff, and that healing that feeling of not feeling enough is a big part of it. So this led me to be like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to look at it. And there was so much there once I looked at it, right, that I had just been suppressing to fit in predominantly white spaces. And that includes in the coaching industry, but in all areas of life, in the workplaces, in the high schools, in college, like every space that I'd been in, I'd learned to assimilate for the sake of survival and fitting in, but it's never really truly fitting in, and belonging is different, right? So it wasn't a true sense of belonging where you can bring your whole self. It was fitting in and just, not challenging the status quo, just leaning into that whiteness. So this was like a huge, identity crisis that had just opened up, a lot of pain surfacing from the intergenerational and ancestral trauma that was there. And then I brought that to the business mastermind I was in at the time. And I was like, we had a group chat and I was like, hey, everyone, this is what I'm holding this week. It's really heavy. It's really huge. And I feel like it's just such an identity crisis. And this is all the pain that I've suppressed and da da da. And the mentor, the leader of the space, just reacted to my message with a heart emoji. And that was it. Did not respond.
Oh,
And otherwise, like, buzzing group chat fell completely silent. And this was like 20 plus people in this group chat, went completely silent. But if I had gone in here and been like, guys, I'm having like money mindset issue, or I'm having this block around getting out, yeah, the chat would have blown up. Like the coach would have sent me 5 voice notes. It would have been like the busiest. But because I brought up like, this is some racial stuff and this is this, and like no one knew what to say. And so the coach literally didn't say anything. She just heart reacted my message. One of my friends in the container responded, and then later one more person out of 20 people responded. And I was like, thank you both, the 2 of you that responded, because this was a very vulnerable share. It was terrifying to share. And then to have it just like dangling there felt very unsafe. And the mentor still didn't respond. And then I was like, okay, people need to know how to have these conversations, because of course it's part of personal growth. Of course, it's part of personal development, right? Unless you don't have those issues, because unless you're non-BIPOC and you don't have those racial traumas to heal from, right? Which was the case for most of my group and most of the spaces I had been in. So that's kind of when I realized these conversations are needed. And so now what these conversations look like, it honestly just started as me sharing really honestly on Instagram. Like kind of like instances like that have happened, storytelling, and then like, here's not just leaving it there and being like, this is a problem, but like, here is how I wish this was handled instead. This is what would have helped me as an Indigenous woman navigating these spaces. This is what I wish this program included. This is how you could better speak to me and support me through this, even if you're, you know, a settler who wants to be in good relation with Indigenous and BIPOC folks. And so instead of just like critiquing the industry, I offer solutions as well. And I invite people to lean in and lean into the discomfort, right? And I acknowledge that it's uncomfortable. I acknowledge that a lot of it might be brand new. And so I try to always lead with compassion, and invite people to lean in with compassion for themselves, but also curiosity. And we always do it in community. So I've built a really strong community of people, mostly coaches and entrepreneurs, who are ready and willing to have the uncomfortable conversations so that they can create spaces where we minimize the harm and we maximize the client transformation, which just helps your business grow. So it just makes good business sense.
yeah. Oh, Emily, would it be okay if I just unpack this one step
Yeah,
further?
absolutely.
And I want to be really delicate and really echo what you're saying, that this is a tough conversation, and maybe everybody here with us live, maybe it's the first time you're having it out loud. Like maybe you've had it in your head, but maybe like Emily was saying, she was in a very white oriented space, so it is uncomfortable. And you know, as a white woman, I can totally understand the lack and or the ignorance behind it, because as a white woman, I have not received this oppression due to my skin color and the way I look. However, like I mentioned to you the other day, like I have dated men outside of my race. I grew up in a very diverse town. And the way I spoke when I went to the workforce, they were like, girl, why are you trying to be black? And I was like, what? What do you like? I was just a product of my environment. I didn't see white, black, all the things. However, I want everyone to really notice what Emily said was she was kind of fighting this lie identity. She was leaning into her white skin or her lighter skin, when really the truth is she's an Indigenous woman.
Mhm.
And she thinks differently and feels differently. And anybody else that can relate to this is your chance. I'm going to pause for just a second because this was really important. And I don't know about y'all, but I got tingles when you shared that, Emily. So thank you for that. And again, echoing, like, this is such an important conversation, not only for business, but just like community in general. I fight that also. Oh, thank you for leaning in here, Erica. We see you. Janice, the white guilt is real. No one likes to feel like, yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm not the problem. I got a cousin who's, of color. Yeah. And I get that a lot being a white woman. Like, oh, exactly. Yeah. Janice feels really seen by you. So thank you for that, Emily. Mm, yeah. And you're also,
But if we can talk to the white guilt piece quickly too, this is so this, and I feel this too because I'm a light-skinned person and I am half white as well, or just less than half if you want to get into blood quantum, because my mom has a bit of Algonquin ancestry as well. But the white guilt is real. But the thing is, we don't need guilt. Guilt isn't productive. It doesn't do anything. What we need is action, right? And accomplices and allies. And that's what my work does, is help you move out of that guilt and just turn it into, compassionate action and ways that you can become safer, more inclusive spaces, rather than just feeling guilty about the privileges you hold. Like, privilege can be used, privilege can be shared, and that's the good piece of it. And I feel that it is a responsibility. It's something that I'm always looking at. What are my privileges and how can I share them for people who don't have those same privileges as me? So this includes having light skin, this includes being straight sized, being presenting as able-bodied, being neurotypical, being debt-free. Like, these are all privileges. And so I'm always examining and challenging myself. How can I use these, and kind of spread it around for those people who are on the margins and don't have those same privileges? So that's the good thing about the guilt, is it can be turned into something good.
into action. I love that, guilt to action. And just for folks new to this conversation, Emily, what's straight size?
Oh yeah, straight size. This is pretty new one for me too. Straight size means, like, you don't have to shop at a special store to find your size. You don't, you can fit into the quote unquote standard seats at the movie theater, on the airplanes, things like that. So it's just kind of like, you have what society has deemed, what Eurocentric standards have deemed the average, or, healthy, quote unquote, healthy body. So yeah, that's what that means. That's a relatively new term for me as well. One of my clients actually taught it to me this year.
Right. And you taught me it as well.
Mhm.
I never realized
Yeah,
that. Oh, go
I
ahead.
started showing it now at the beginning of my master classes when I list
Yeah,
the privileges.
I love that. It's like, yeah, I do get to drive to Macy's down the street, or you know what I'm saying? And yeah, and honoring our privileges and using for the good. That's what I heard you saying, Emily. So thank you for that. Um, and just because we're shifting out of like white guilt and turning it into action, what would you say to anybody here, Emily? And I'm receiving this too. This is such medicine for me. Like, how do we start having this conversation in our branding with our existing students, or as we're transitioning to a more inclusive community-based coaching experience? Like, how can we start having this conversation if we're brand new to it?
Yeah, it's a great question. Um, I don't believe in, um, when you're going to be like, I don't believe that there's a time when you're going to feel ready to have these conversations and you're going to know all the things. Because, so I always tell people, the very first step in this work is to just make peace right now. Make peace with the fact that this is lifelong learning and unlearning. Because, so this work is all about decolonizing, right? Or uncolonizing, or re-indigenizing. And the thing is, we've all been brought up in a colonized culture from day one, since we were born. We've been swimming in these colonial ways of being, which we can talk more about what that means. But we've all been swimming in that. So we all have a whole lifetime to kind of undo of what we've been taught is like normal and default and right and good. Um,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, I think just patience with yourself, grace, and making peace right away that you got to be in the mess to be in this work. And you're never going to feel 100% ready or like you have all the answers, and you won't, because we're learning every single day, myself included, and I'm going to be every single day for the rest of my life. And this is a really hard thing for a lot of people to get over in a society, in a colonial society where we've been taught instant gratification. I want to take a 1 weekend course and learn all the things and master it, and perfection. So if I can't do it perfectly, then I don't want to do it, because I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want to. That's what I hear a lot is, I want to start speaking about the stuff and acknowledging my privilege, or acknowledging that I might be teaching through my lens of privilege, but I don't want to like hurt people more or say the wrong thing. And I think so. One of the first things I walk through with my clients in my community is unlearning perfectionism and detangling that, and detangling ourselves from colonialism, which has taught us all that we must be perfect. And achieve these impossible standards of perfectionism. That's not part of indigenous ways of knowing and ways of being. We actually have a lot of teachings that remind us that life is imperfect and it's supposed to be. So even when we make like our beadwork or weave a blanket, we purposely leave one wrong bead, like one wrong color or one mismatch thing, to show and to celebrate that imperfection is normal. It's part of life. So it's actually celebrated. So perfectionism certainly does not resonate with my bones and my ways of being, because it's not part of indigenous culture. And really, like, colonial culture as we know it now is not part of anyone's indigenous, like, original ways of being, right? It was constructed, and it was constructed to create control and keep people in line and keep people not questioning things, right? And following whatever patriarchy decided was the way that we need to be civilized. So yeah, I don't know if that made sense. That was like a whole tangent. I think start with getting over the perfectionism thing and untangling that. And also, like, so decolonization is three things. It's mindset, it's ideas we have to unlearn and relearn, it's words we can speak, and it's actions we can take. So it's three things. And I think it starts with learning and unlearning, right? So you don't want to like go out and start speaking and trying to take actions when maybe you're not informed yet. So I think the education piece should come first, but don't like stay there forever and be like, I can't speak yet, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I need to read one more anti-racism book, or I need to listen to one more podcast before I can speak. And that's not true. So I think acknowledge where you are, share who you're learning from, what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you're personally moving through, and that'll inspire everyone around you to do the same. Hopefully, anyways, that's the ideal. So yeah, I would say start there. Start where you are, with grace and compassion for what you don't know, because you don't know what you don't know. And it's purposely that way. Like, our educational systems have absolutely failed us, but they've been rigged to do that. They've been rigged to not teach us the real history of how our countries were founded on literal genocide and land theft, and a cultural genocide as well. And even like the history of slavery, it's really watered down. I know it is here in Canada anyways. Like, the real brutal truth of what actually happened is so watered down, that there's still so much we don't know. And that's not your fault. Like, you are, like you said earlier, product of your environment, right? But now that I am showing you things and you are seeing things, it's up to you what you do with that. And it's up to you to choose to not see it and not, lean in or not. Invitation to everybody to lean in. And yeah, do your own unlearning and relearning. Sorry,
Thank you,
my
Emily.
cat's running around.
My cat's got, I don't even know, he's got his own. Thank you for that, Emily.
Yeah.
The unlearning, and also what I heard was the life is imperfect, and the more we embrace the imperfection and the beauty of life, the better it flows. And I really love that about the indigenous culture, is like, right, just accepting what is as it is without fighting or force. And I I received so much from that, and we're coming up on our end. So everybody, I want to leave a few minutes for questions for Emily before she leaves. And if you don't have questions, just please shower her with some love. This is not easy to pull away from her very successful business, her job, and be here with us with a group of strangers, but she's doing it. Yeah. Thank you. Um, and Emily, if anyone is called to take this journey with you or with your leaders, your leadership, where can they find you? Like, what's the next step if someone's secretly like, Emily is my person, I have to learn from her? Where do they find you?
Thank you. I think so. I hang out the most on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, please come and be with me over there. I am over there at Emily Ann Brant, and it's Ann with an E. So Emily Anne Brant. And if you're really ready to expand who you're able to serve and hold space for, this is, this is what I help people with. This is why people come to me, and really connect those dots between colonialism and which we didn't really have time to fully unpack today. But if you want to like fully unpack colonialism and how it translates into the coaching space and the personal development space and what you can do to decolonize that and operate through a more inclusive and anti-oppressive lens, then I would strongly recommend my roundtable masterclass. It's the perfect starting place. It's only $88, and a lot of people are sharing that it's the best money hands down that they've invested in their business, because it's so jam-packed. There's a full class on the first day breaking all of this stuff down step by step, and then there's a second day where you get to hear from panelists who are from different perspectives, different lived experiences and backgrounds, the different folks of the global majority who are also navigating the coaching industry, also experiencing the things that I speak to, and you get to hear from their voices as well. So it's really jam-packed, and I always recommend that as a starting place. So it's called the Roundtable. You'll be able to find it once you find me on Instagram, and then go from there. It's a big one. Tiffany attended, not the roundtable exactly, I don't think, or did you? A similar one for
Yes.
Robin's, a similar one. But yeah, there's lots in there to unpack, and you get the past rounds recordings as well with all different panelists. So in total, you get to hear from like 12 different voices, which is just so much bang for your buck, right? So great starting place. And thanks for the opportunity to share that with everyone.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you for being with us. Again, echoing, I will tag Emily again in the Facebook group. If anyone missed her, she's on Instagram, Emily Ann Brant, and her roundtable is only $88. And yes, y'all, this is where my heart cracked open. Emily witness, I was like, I'm crying. Like, I'm crying. And, Emily gave me this beautiful recommendation. She said, go put your tears in your garden and just like let them. And I'm getting chills. And then like I feel like an hour later, I was like, Emily, can I bring you on my Sign So My Client show? It was kind of just this reciprocal energy force that it was just beautiful. And I'm getting chills thinking about how that happened. But my ultimate message here is if you're called in this way, attend Emily's roundtable. It's $88. It's and I have senior panelists, my cousin who is messaging on Instagram yesterday. That's my cousin. She's in a homosexual relationship. She's married to another woman, and she loves she actually sent me a private message and was like, it's about time, Tip. Wow, and guys, this is my cousin. My cousin messaged me. She's not even in coaching. She's just a woman in a homosexual relationship who feels seen by Emily, who messaged me and was like, I've sat on a round table and she's a teacher, and she sat on your round table and was like, you're in good hands. So not only is that a testimonial of mine, but my cousin, who is a very hard critic, I will tell you, Heather, if you're watching, I love you, but you are a hard critic. I say that with love. Anything else, guys, before we let Emily, everyone just feels really seen by you, Emily, and I'm sure you can see the comments. Thank you guys so much for being here. The replay will be posted on YouTube later today. Emily, any closing thoughts before we let you go?
I just want to extend my gratitude for everyone for listening. I know, especially if it's like the first time you're really hearing this conversation and you're not someone who's been directly impacted by this like colonialism or white supremacy in the coaching space. I know it can be a lot to hear and it can be really unsettling. And so I thank you for leaning in anyway and encourage you to just have grace and compassion for yourself. We're all at different points in our journey, including BIPOC folks. There are many folks of the global majority or BIPOC who are also just coming into this work because we've all internalized the messages we've all been receiving since day one. So I just want to offer big grace, compassion, and love to everyone. And thank you again for sharing space. And thanks again, Tiffany, for having me. It's been such a gift. And this is medicine for me too. I love hearing that people feel seen because that's why I do what I do. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for being here. We will see you next week. Special guests tidbits will be coming soon, but thank you all for being here. And we're sending you into your day with love, abundance, and joy. Take care.